Well, hey y'all, I'm Jay Withrow. So glad you're here. I'm going to show you today how to play my favorite Ed Sheeran guitar lick that he's written to date that I know of. And it is in a style none other than Celtic pop is what I would call this. This song, I See Fire, was written for the second movie, I believe, of the Hobbit movie series that came out. And it's been out for a while, but a lot of people have forgotten about this song, or maybe you don't know about it at all. And I want it to be in the public consciousness because anytime I teach this riff, my students find it extremely satisfying, especially that little intro little lick, and it is just excellent. Plus, it uses this technique, one of my favorites to use in my personal playing, as well as something called the slap flick technique. Funny name, but really powerful. So I'm going to show you how to do all that and play this song. Let's look at the intro. So to start playing this, you will need a capo, and we're going to put it on the 6th fret. We're in the key of B flat minor, but we are in what's called G structure, using a G shape, a C shape, D, E minor, A minor, some of these common chord shapes that you'll find easy, but the real technique and the nuance of this song is in the hammer-ons and pull-offs, the slap kind of technique, percussive technique that happens on beats 2 and 4. And all this stuff is contained in this little section called the intro. So if you learn this, it sets you up to play every other section of this song, which are going to feel a little simpler. So let's dive into this. So to start off, our right hand, our thumb is on low E, middle finger's on G. Left hand, our first finger's on the 2nd fret of G. And we're just gonna pluck the low E and G together while our first finger's down. If we do that with some strength, it gives us enough volume to do this hammer-on pull-off combo. It starts with a flutter. A flutter is where we go like that. We're gonna keep our first finger down the whole time. We pluck it, hammer our 3rd finger onto the 4th fret of the G, and then immediately pull back off to your 1st finger. Try to not let your 1st finger pull down, but keep it kind of, as your 3rd finger pulls down, try to keep your 1st finger pushed up, and it'll keep it kind of in a neutral position where it doesn't move much. And then as soon as you do that, you do one more pull off from your 1st finger pulling off to the open G. And when you do that, there's a little nuance about how to mute your B string. If you just pull your finger all the way off, it's gonna sound like that. You're gonna hear that B or even high E string. We don't want that. We want it to be nice and clear, just a single note. So when you pluck, or when you pull off rather, that 1st finger, you're gonna just keep your 1st finger down low, and you're gonna rest it on the B string, not pushing it down, but just lightly touching it. And it keeps the B string from ringing out. Instead of doing this, it just mutes it like that. So you might need to practice that a little bit to get it to where your 1st finger's not pulling away too far and out and off of your guitar neck, but just staying right above that B string. As you do that, it gives you the nice kind of clean sound there. Okay, so remember the first note of this is held slightly longer than the other ones to give it the correct rhythm. See, it's held just a little longer. So all those techniques together give you that hammer-on pull-off combo there. As soon as we do that, your 1st finger of your plucking hand plucks D, and we hammer our 1st finger onto the 2nd fret of D as well. Okay, now we're not done actually. That seems easy enough, just a regular old hammer-on, right? And now is where we get our first percussive technique. I just call this the slap, the thumb slap. You just take your thumb and you just slap it. You reel it back, pull it down like that. And you try to just do it as relaxed as possible. And this is gonna help us create that groove. It's like a snare drum hitting on beats 2 and 4. Okay, notice how you're hearing a note as I slap. So this is part of the technique. You gotta keep your thumb up and out of the way, just hitting that low E. You can also touch the A a little bit, but it cannot touch the D string at all. Otherwise, it'll be muted. You're gonna hammer your 1st finger on, and when you practice this, you have to practice doing both at the same time, like this. So if if you hammering is not very loud, that's something else you can work on, is just taking your first finger, trying to get enough velocity to where the note rings out loud without you having to pluck it at all. There it is, okay? So I'll do a playthrough of this in a minute where I'm going through the song at a slow tempo, but it's all flowing together. As soon as we do that hammer on and slap, you just take your middle finger of your plucking hand, pluck the open G, and then that sets us up nicely to go to our first like kind of chord shape here with our left hand. So this is like a C over G shape. Our third finger's on the low E, third fret, pinky's right beside on the A, middle finger's on that second fret, but we leave our first finger up in the air for just a second. We strum with our thumb low E through B string, do a rest stroke, so you rest it on the high E down there so that we don't hit it. And then as soon as you do that, first finger hammers on in place to that first fret. Really beautiful, I think. Nice and smooth sounding. And then we do a slap on beat 4. We want a complete mute on this. I let my fingernails touch the other strings so it stops the notes from ringing out. And there we go. This is how we're creating the groove. So if I kind of play that together slow, ready, and... I find that a lot of my students, they've got to get used to that switch to the C shape. They're not used to starting without their first finger down, and you got to get used to like the muscle memory of just moving those 3 fingers immediately there and then being able to hammer. So these things all take time. Feel free to pause it, work on it, and then let's go to the second measure. So this starts off with a D shape. We're going to put our first finger on the second fret of G, third finger on the third fret of B, and then with my plucking hand, my first, second, and third fingers are going to pluck D, G, B together. Okay, but before we actually put that first finger down on that second fret, we're going to leave it up for just a second, pluck first, and then hammer our first finger in. This is what's called a grace notes, where you pluck the strings and then as quick as you can, you just hammer on one of the notes into it. Just like that. And then we pluck again, those 3 strings, and then, here we go, here's our slap flick technique. I know it's got a weird name, funny name, but it sounds really nice. It's this nice, subtle kind of technique where our thumb is slapping. We want to hear the percussion, but we don't want it to mute the other strings. We want to hear like a chord being played at the same time. Normally, if you're not doing something as advanced as this, you're just hearing one or the other, right? You're either just muting all the strings or you're strumming. In this one, we're doing both. And so the way I do that is the slap is the same as what I showed you earlier, but now our first finger, let me see if I can get it on the camera. I'm just barely flicking it like this. It's very subtle and small because I'm just wanting to hit D, G, B, and I don't want it to be overly loud either. I want it to sound about the same volume as when I'm plucking. So I'm just barely moving it, but this is, again, very nuanced and it's very subtle. And so you have to work just to get those strings without, going all the way through your high E. And so I remember when I was working on this, it took me a while to get it where I didn't go too far with my finger. And it was just a little bit of a flick, and that the tap still sounded good. It was up and out of the way, is hitting the low E and A only, not other strings. And so together it sounds like this when you pluck it and do that little grace note, like that. Oop. You heard me hit the high E. I got to do it in context here so I don't go too far. There we go. That's it. And then, as soon as we do that, we just end easily on a regular old E minor chord, second frets of A and D, strumming with our thumb on beat 4, slap, and we mute it completely. So those are the 2 measures. Let me do a little playthrough of this, and I'll do it at a slow tempo. I'll play the intro twice in a row. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 and 4 and 3, 4. Well, there's our intro. There's a lot of technique in that. If you got that down, then the rest is going to feel easy. Let's look at our verse. Verse. Dun, 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 So the verse, we just make our E minor chord. Now, you'll notice that on my fingers, we don't actually have to play the A string, but I'll still put my middle finger on the A string because I'm so used to the muscle memory of making an E minor chord like this. And then with my right hand, my thumb's plucking low E, first, second, third are playing D, G, B. And we're just plucking them all together, 1 E and a 2, and slapping on 2, completely muting it, letting the thumb hit the low E nice and loud, 1 E and a 2 E and. So this is, again, how this groove is being created in this song is we're always slapping on 2 and 4, but we're playing chords or strumming them on off beats, right? So this is on an and, 1 E and a 2 E and the whole song kind of works like that, where we're doing our second chord of each measure on an and. So when I play this G, I'm just using my third finger on low E. That's the only finger we need, plucking the same strings, E, D, G, B, and then slapping on beat 4. The second measure of the verse, we make that same D shape that we did in the intro, plucking those same 3 strings, 1 E and a 2. All right, now we're making a C shape, but like we did in the intro, but it's slightly different. Instead of the first finger being off, we're gonna leave it down, and we're gonna leave our middle finger off. We're actually not using our pinky in this one. So we're third finger's on the 3rd fret of A, and then we hammer that middle finger down onto the 2nd fret of the D. So, and that's on the and beat again. So it goes 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Okay, and you can see that there's an X plus a 2 0 right here. So we're doing that slap flick combination again. And we're trying to get that first finger to move even smaller, where it's just hitting D and G. It's okay if you hit your B every now and then, but you're still trying to get it to where it's really small, barely doing anything. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and a, and then 1 E and a 2. Our third measure, E minor again, G, and then D, 4th measure, A minor. And this is just a traditional A minor shape. Middle and third fingers there on 2nd fret, D, G, first finger on B, and we just pluck those 4 strings, A, D, G, B, slap. And there we go, there's the first line of our verse, and then we kind of start to repeat the progression again. So it goes E minor to G, ready, and 1 E and a 2 E and, then D to C, D with this middle finger off, being hammered on, slap flick, okay? And then A minor, G over B, all right? And the fingers I use for G over B, middle finger on the A string, 2nd fret, pinky, because it's so available going from the A minor shape right there. And then slapping on 4, C chord. And I think I normally like to strum that with my thumb. Maybe in context I pluck it, but I think I do it with my thumb there. 2, 3, 4. So we go all the way to beat 4, and then our verse is done. So let me do a playthrough of this for you slow, and we'll get the whole thing together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and 4 and a 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. A 1, 2, 3 and a 4 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, very good. So in the real song, after you play the intro and the verse, you play the intro and the verse again. And then the verse actually tags those last 2 measures. It does the A minor to G over B to C. It actually does it twice. And then you go into the chorus, which the chorus feels like the verse. It might even be a little simpler. Fourth time and so the chorus is just E minor again, plucking that just as we did in our verse, same kind of setup, 1 and a 2, but then we go to a C chord just outright. We're not hammering in, we're just playing the C, 4 and a D and E minor again. And sometimes you might see me strum with my thumb. I might just feel it. It's like, I like to hear the strum there. And we do this 3 times, okay? We do E minor again to start it out, and then D, and a 2, and a 3, and then a 3rd time, E minor. And then we do the beginning, and then we go to the 4th ending. So it goes D, and then A sus4. Really nice chord to use here. It's got a lot of tension in it, which is just excellent songwriting. So 0, 2, 2, 3 are the fret numbers, 0 on the A, 2, 2, 3 with our middle, 3rd, and pinky. And then I just strum through that B string so that the highest note we hear is that sus4 note, and then slap on 4, and you've completed the chorus. Well, guys, those are the 3 parts. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a playthrough of all 3 parts back to back, and then you will have learned pretty much the basics of this song and all the techniques needed to play it. Really cool song, a lot in there for something that does seem simple at first, and you're like, wow, there's a lot of little variation and just things you got to nail. And if you get that down, this is a really, really sweet song to play. Very satisfying. Well, here's the playthrough of the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Verse. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Chorus and inside the mountain I see fire. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th time and to end on E minor and strum. Very good, y'all. If you made it to that point, we're able to play through, well done. This is such a cool song, man. So glad you could learn this along with me. And if this was your first time to hear it and you really enjoyed it, let other people know about it. Play it out there. And well, guys, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Thank you for your support. And let's keep doing this. I'll see you at the next lesson.